Welcome to The Explainer. Today we are diving into a single molecule that's found in some of our most common foods, everything from oatmeal to mushrooms. It's at the heart of a massive scientific buzz, with researchers hoping it might just be a key to tackling high cholesterol, inflammation, and maybe even cancer. And that molecule is beta-glucan. We're talking over 200 human clinical trials dedicated to studying this one thing. Clearly, the scientific community thinks they're onto something big. But with all that time and all that research, what have we actually learned? Let's break down the evidence. So, first things first, what exactly is it? Well, at its core, beta-glucan is just a type of natural soluble fiber. Think of it as a really long chain of sugar molecules, a polysaccharide, that our bodies can't break down. And you find it in everyday stuff like oats and mushrooms, and also in things like yeast. But here is the most important thing to get right from the start. Not all beta-glucans are the same. Not even close. Depending on where it comes from, say from a cereal like oats versus a fungus like a mushroom, its chemical structure is totally different. And that tiny difference in chemical bonds, well, as we're about to see, it changes everything about what it does in your body. To really understand why everyone got so excited about this, we have to go back to where it all began, in the lab with the foundational studies done on animals. So where did all this hype even come from? Well, almost all of it was sparked by a series of experiments and animal models. And honestly, the results were incredible. So consistently positive that they created this huge wave of optimism for what beta-glucan could mean for human health. I mean, just look at the range of effects they were seeing in these early studies. In mice exposed to radiation, it actually improved survival and helped their blood cells grow back. In rats dealing with sepsis or lung damage, it seemed to calm down inflammation. And get this, in lab dishes and in mice, it even appeared to boost the killing of tumor cells. You can see why people were excited. Yeah, the results were so persuasive that, as this quote shows, moving on the human trials wasn't just a casual idea. It was considered the essential, obvious next step. They had to see if these incredible benefits could actually work in people. But, as any scientist will tell you, the ultimate test isn't what happens in a mouse or a petri dish, it's what happens in people. So let's move on to the clinical trials and see how this story unfolds. Now, testing something in humans is a super rigorous, multi-step process called a clinical trial. First, in phase 1, you have to make sure it's safe. Then, in phase 2, you start looking to see if it actually works. And finally, you confirm that effectiveness in really large groups of people in phase 3 before something can ever get approved. And this is where the story gets so much more interesting and a lot more complicated. Once beta-glucan made the leap to human trials, the results became a real mixed bag. We're talking some clear successes alongside some pretty surprising disappointments. Okay, let's start with a clear win. This was a 2020 double-blind, placebo-controlled human trial, the gold standard. And in it, people who took 3 grams a day of beta-glucan from oats saw their bad LDL cholesterol drop by a whopping 15.1%. That's a big deal. And the positive results don't stop there. Another human study, this one from 2021, looked at patients with chronic gastritis. They found that a very specific type of oat beta-glucan, one with a high molar mass, actually helped reduce damage and inflammation in the stomach lining. That's a direct protective effect. But, and this is a really big but, this is where things get messy. A different large-scale human trial from 2023, also using oat beta-glucan, found no significant effect on LDL cholesterol compared to a placebo. So wait, that result directly contradicts the 2020 study. And just to make things even more confusing, a 2021 human trial tried using beta-glucan from a completely different source, this time from mushrooms. And they also found no significant effect on cholesterol. So we've got one oat study that works, another oat study that doesn't, and a mushroom study that doesn't. What on earth is going on here? It turns out these contradictory results aren't just random static. They're actually a massive clue. They point directly to the one critical factor that can explain all of this, the source and therefore the structure of the beta-glucan being tested. So to untangle this mess, we have to get a lot more specific. You see, just saying beta-glucan isn't good enough. It's kind of like saying you drive a car. You have to ask, okay, but which one? And when you dig into the data from over 100 clinical trials, you see just how much variety there is. Sure, cereals like oat and barley are the most common. making up almost half the studies. But researchers are also testing beta-glucans from yeast, fungi, and a whole bunch of other sources. And this matters a ton, because even within the same category, like yeast, for example, the final commercial product can have totally different properties. Just look at this table. Some are soluble, some are insoluble, and that dramatically changes how they're going to act inside your body.
Okay, now this is the slide that ties it all together. It's fantastic. The structure literally dictates the function. The ones from cereals with their specific 1,3/14 chemical links are the ones that have those metabolic effects. That's why they study them for cholesterol. But the ones from fungi and yeast have different 1,3/16 links, and they primarily affect the immune system. They're studied to see if they can help boost immune response. Two totally different jobs.
All right, so after that whole journey through the science, what's the big takeaway here? What does all this actually mean for you if you're looking at these products or hearing these health claims? Well, it means you have to be a savvy consumer of the science. You have to ask a few key questions. First, what's the source? Is it oat, yeast, or mushroom? Second, was the study that's being quoted done on animals or in people? Remember, those amazing animal results don't always pan out. Third, dig into the details if you can. What was the dose? What was the molecular weight? And finally, you just have to manage your expectations. This is complex science, not some simple silver bullet. And this quote from researchers just nails the problem perfectly. They point out that people often take a good result from one specific preparation and just assume it applies to all beta-glucans. And that is a huge oversimplification that completely misses the point of all this careful science. So in the end, is beta-glucan a health hero or just a lesson in how complicated science can be? The truth is, it's both. It clearly holds real promise, and plenty of human trials show that. But it's also a powerful reminder that in science, especially nutrition, the details matter. The answer is almost never simple, and it turns out understanding the complexity is the real key to finding the truth.